Hello friends, welcome to another session brought to you by Unacademy. Okay, so this is the current affairs channel of UPSC Civil Services Examination, and I'll be dealing with some topics regarding the coronavirus pandemic that has been around for a while, and we will be looking into various peripheral topics. Actually, I'm not going to speak about coronavirus as such or about its treatments or any tests or anything like that, but we'll be looking into some topics that came in newspapers recently associated with the COVID-19 pandemic. For example, the Epidemic Diseases Act, One Health approach, and so on. Okay, so just 2-3 topics in this session, 1 hour session. Okay, we will be looking into all that. So welcome to this platform, Unacademy. If you haven't already subscribed to Unacademy, please do get a subscription. Unacademy is India's largest learning platform with unlimited access to live videos, recorded sessions, and all those things. Okay, and you will get to interact with India's greatest educators and listen to their classes, ask them queries, and all with a very cheap subscription, which I will be telling you in the following slides. Okay, so what does Unacademy offer you? It offers you daily live classes, okay, where you will be able to chat with your educator, engage in discussions, ask your doubts, participate in polls, and all those things. This is a very classroom kind of thing. Okay, this is not a monologue. The Unacademy doesn't do monologues. Actually, it gives you virtual classroom experience, where you can benefit 100%. Okay, and then we have live tests and quizzes, where you can take more quizzes and tests uh, as much as you want, and this will help boost your confidence and be better in your examination hall. Okay, and we have structured courses where this is a very guided path covering the entire syllabus for whatever examination you are preparing. This is not just for UPSC. Alright, what I'm telling about Unacademy is not just for UPSC. Learn for every competitive examination in India, UPSC, SSC, your state board, state PSC examinations, your say IIT examinations, and the NEET. Okay, all those things. Then unlimited access to resources. You can watch the same class over and over again. You can get unlimited access to Unacademy materials, free sessions, quizzes, tests, and all those things. Okay, and how you do all this? Simply download the Unacademy education app from Google Play Store and or the Apple Play Store, Apple Store if you want, and you can register into Unacademy by giving very basic details, and basically that's it. You get subscribe to a package and start learning. Okay, so about me, I am Madhav Sankar R Warrier. I have conducted multiple sessions on various topics for school and college students. I've been a former banker, and I am also an artist. Okay, so if how to contact me, you can contact me in the following methods. One is the WhatsApp, to where this number you can post your queries, doubts, and anything is in this number, and I'll be getting back to you without much delay. Okay, and or you can follow the Telegram channel, MSRW1. Okay, go to the Telegram and subscribe to this channel. I will be posting all the materials uh, that I have, that I teach into this channel. I will also be giving you updates regarding my upcoming sessions and all those things. Okay, and finally the unacademy.com link. Okay, unacademy.com/@msrw. You can please do visit this link. Please do subscribe to me. Click the follow icon and please do follow me as well. You can listen to all my classes. Okay, and there are many live free sessions that I have been taking. You can listen to all those also. Okay, so please do give special attention to subscribing. And yeah, there are many familiar faces here you may already know, but as I have mentioned earlier, Unacademy gives you an opportunity to prepare for your examinations with the best educators in the country. Okay, so do tune into Unacademy. And here is a snapshot of what UPSC of channel of Unacademy offers you. There are more than this, but this is just a snapshot. Okay, and as you can see, we have classes in polity and governance, international relations, history, current affairs that I am being taking now, Okay, and practice and strategy sessions, answer writing courses for mains. Okay, so all these things, NCRT, special coverage, optional courses. Okay, you can, this is a very important thing. You can look in the optional courses as well. This is not optional for any particular subject. There are optionals for almost all the subjects. Okay, history courses are available, public administration courses are available, some of many other courses are available in optional. You can look into that by subscribing to Unacademy. Okay, and here is the subscription package. We have variety of packages, and this is the most subscribed pack, one of our subscribed packages, which is a 1 year or a 12-month subscription package at 44,000 rupees only. Okay, so do get a subscription and start your preparations. So there are two kinds of Unacademy subscriptions. One is the plus subscription and other one is the iconic subscription. So regarding plus subscription, you can either choose the very popular 1 year plan or the 12 months plan or the 2 year plan. For 20, if you are preparing for 2022, take a 2 year plan because it's much more effective. And if you are preparing for next year, do the 1 year plan. Okay, and 1 year plan gives you the entire thing at 44,000 rupees. And if you use my code MSRW1, you will get the entire thing at 39,600 rupees, which is 10% reduction from the original course. Okay, and if you are getting the 2 years subscription plan, you will get it at 64,000 rupees and at 57,600 rupees if you use my code MSRW1. Okay, and regarding the iconic subscription, it is a very special subscription offered to you by Unacademy. Here you get additionally a personal coach or a personal mentor or whatever you want to call him. Okay, a personalized mentor, a guide who will be throughout with you in your examination preparation. Okay, daily mains answer writing with practice, study planner, personalized feedback. You get all these on a one-on-one basis. You can contact your personal coach and ask him doubts regarding sessions or anything. Okay, and help get feedback and all those things. Okay, and for 1 year this will cost you 64,000 rupees, and after deduction you can use my MSRW1 code to get it at 57,600 rupees. But for 2 years the course amount is 99,000 rupees. You will get it at 89,100 if you use my code MSRW1. Okay, so please do subscribe to one of the Unacademy packages. It is helpful. It gives you access to immense resources of high quality, and which will get you which will help you to pass your examinations. Okay, not just UPSC. I have mentioned UPSC packages here. You can use this for any preparation of any competitive examinations as you want. All right. So here is a look into my Unacademy channel, unacademy.com/@msrw. As I have said earlier, I have conducted some sessions already there, and regarding current affairs and history. All right, evolution of education in India, Woods dispatch to NEP 2020. This is a comprehensive coverage. This is a 3-part session. Okay, this is part 1, part 2, and part 3. So in these 3 hours, I have completely covered everything from Charter Act of 1813 to NEP 2020. It is a comprehensive coverage which you can use for your prelims as well as mains examinations, not just UPSC but any examinations. Okay, these are free also. Just download the app. You can use my code to do a subscription. Okay, and you can watch as many as Unacademy videos as you wish. Okay, my code MSRW1. All right. So if you have already subscribed to Unacademy, that's great. If you haven't, please do a subscription and join with me and with all the educators in Unacademy for all the materials resources. All right. So without further delay, let's start our classes for today. And first topic for today is Epidemic Diseases Act. Epidemic Diseases Act is a very relevant topic, especially regarding related to the ongoing Covid-19 pandemic. We have seen this act being used by the government to contain or to enforce certain health ministry advisories, right? So why is this in news? Central government invoked the Section 2 of Epidemic Diseases Act to enforce Health Ministry advisories on COVID-19 in all states and union territories. So, Health Ministry gave some advisories like, for example, people have to wear a mask, they shouldn't spit in the open, they should take proper, they should stand in 1 meter distance, and so on and so on. So, these advisories are enforced by the government by invoking Section 2 of Epidemic Diseases Act of 1897. Please do remember that the year is 1897. You don't have to study the year by heart. UPSC usually does not ask the year as such. It will only ask chronologically arrange certain events in history scenario. But why I am saying to remember this year is just understand that this is a colonial era act, not a post-independent act, and hence this has every disadvantage of being and draconian rules and principles that any colonial act usually has. Okay, so this has this has not been enforced for the first time. This has been enforced earlier to deal with lots of diseases like swine flu, dengue, cholera, and so on. So this is in news recently, but this is nothing new. This is centuries, at least a century old act. Okay, so a brief history. You all know that the Bombay presidency is one of the three presidencies, principal presidencies in earlier India. The other one being the Calcutta and Madras. You all know that. So the first time this act was introduced was in the 1890s or 1897 when there was an outbreak of bubonic plague in Bombay presidency. So the British wanted to contain this outbreak, and hence they introduced this particular act. And this enabled them to forcibly search, segregate, evacuate, demolish plague infected areas. So even these words itself tells you this is a very draconian act, and this is nothing like any usual acts that we have seen around. Okay, so this has been a very draconian act that has been introduced in the 1890s to fight bubonic plague by the colonial government. So what are its key provisions? First provision is that state is empowered to take measures beyond the scope of ordinary law. Okay, very important. Usually the ordinary law has to conform with certain principles, right? Certain rules and regulations, right? For example, in this COVID-19 pandemic case, government has imposed lots of restrictions that goes directly against our fundamental rights, right? For example, we had by fundamental rights we have the right to move freely around the country of India, but that has been restricted. Interstate travels has been restricted. We have been asked to go into a total lockdown for a period of while. So all these can be done with the help of this particular act, as this one goes beyond the scope of ordinary law, and after issuing a relevant public notices, government can actually impose any restrictions and take any measures using this Epidemic Diseases Act. Okay, state can prescribe temporary regulations to public persons or class of persons. So state can impose restrictions to any of these categories. It need not be to everybody. It can be to a group, or it can be to an individual. For example, anybody who comes from a foreign country is mandatorily asked to go into a 15-day or a 14-day home quarantine, right? So these can be actually imposed by the state by using this particular act. Third one, the state could prescribe inspection of travelers in railways or any other in hospitals or temporary accommodations, and so on and so on. So state has absolute power, or state has huge power, may not be absolute but very high power compared to other laws, to look in or inspect or do anything, or take any measures in order to fight the said disease. So this act gives the state that kind of power. Alright. Then Section 2A empowers the government to inspect any ship leaving or arriving at any port and detain any persons therein for fighting this pandemic. Okay, not that much important point, but just remember that. Then obviously the implementation requires fund, requires expenses, and the state can define and determine the manner and by whom the expenses so incurred shall be defrayed, including the compensation. So all the expenses from where it comes, and how the money is to be defrayed, and that all can be decided and determined by the state. Okay, so like any other act, this act also comes with proper punitive measures. Okay, for example, not for example, actually here in section, this act uses section 188 IPC. Various acts have various punitive measures. This one uses section 188 IPC, which is disobedience to order promulgated by a public servant. Say your collector. Okay, so collector promulgates a public notification or an order, and you have to abide by that. If you do not do that, you will get penalized. Okay, so section 3 of Epidemic Diseases Act mandates the people or defines the punishable offences and punishments as per section 188 IPC or disobedience to order duly promulgated by public servant. Okay, and section 4 indemnifies special or provides special indemnity and legal protection to people who do anything in good faith of this act. Say for the health workers, police, all these people have implemented a lot of things in good conformity with this act, and for that they are indemnified or they are legally protected from any penal actions. Okay, so these are the provisions of this said act. This is a very small act, basically a 4-page act, which with not much clarifications or specificity. It's a very vague act as well. So these are the key points or provisions regarding the said act. So what are the criticisms? One is it is very draconian, one of the most draconian piece of legislation ever introduced in colonial era. So as I already mentioned, there is a potential for this to get abused. In the previous slide, I have told you all those indemnity and powers of the government to do a lot of things, right? So all this can actually be abused, and this potential to abuse said thing makes it a very draconian piece of legislation. Balagangadhar Tilak was sentenced to 18 months rigorous imprisonment with when Kesari and Maratha admonished imperial government handling of plague. This is a very excellent example of why this act is a draconian act. Simply because his publications admonished the way the British government handled the bubonic plague in 1890s, Mr. Tilak has been sent to 18 months rigorous imprisonment. So look at the how this act is draconian, or how it is abused by the government officials. So just a piece of additional information here. Kesari and Maratha, two of the very famous publications of Mr. Tilak. Kesari is a regional language publication which is in Marathi, okay, and Maratha is in English. Don't get confused, it's a very easy to get confused. So Kesari is in Marathi, and Maratha is in English. Okay. Anyway, moving on. The act has been criticized by Indian Journal of Medical Ethics, obviously due to the above mentioned reasons. Okay, and another very interesting fact is that though the act has been introduced in 1897, but it was last amended only in 1956. So the act is 100 years old, and the last amendment is 70 years old. Just imagine how it's more like a dinosaur. It's not a 21st century thing. It has not evolved into a 21st century thing, right? It is stuck in the 1950s, and it is not adapted to the 21st century. So what are the concerns? Primary concern is regarding federalism. The act does not mention who has jurisdiction over what. It does not demarcate the jurisdiction of central and state government, and hence there is a concern for federalism. We know that center has its own jurisdiction, state has its own, and some the subjects in the concurrent list have common jurisdictions, right? So this act does not define any demarcations, and hence the jurisdiction of the actors are undefined, which is a concern for federalism. Second one, it does not provide legislative, or it is incapable of providing legislative backing in dealing with public health emergency. So we need an act that is an enabler of legislative action rather than mere executive orders, right? Any act, not just health emergency, any act, if it is implemented through parliamentary process of legislation, then it will be better compared to a mere executive order, right? So for example, if the bill is brought into the parliament, it will undergo some readings, then it will be discussed, debated, brainstormed into, and after all that may even go to an expert committee or a parliamentary committee or anything, right? And after all those, it will go to the other house and undergo the same procedures, and only then it will come into an act. So there is a huge idea brainstorming session before implementing the act. But mere executive orders means only very limited consultations, and it's basically government order without proper discussions and debate. It has its own drawbacks. So it is advisable to have a proper legislative backing or a legislative act or a machinery in place rather than executive orders. Okay, next is subverting existing laws. So we need a proper plan, framework and method of action rather than a subverting the existing laws. So we what subverting existing laws temporarily does is that it patches up certain issues. We can get away with it, that's all, just adjustment business. That won't do. We need a proper comprehensive framework of action, policy of action, standard operating procedure to deal with all these things, and for that we need a proper legislative backing. So this is one of the criticisms. Then no delineation of roles between different organizations employed. So combating a disease or a disaster is not a one-man job, not a one department job. It is a multi-sectoral and transdisciplinary job as well, and hence there need to be proper clarity on roles of each actors, and this is not properly delineated by this act. Okay, and it does not clarify the procedure of declaring a disease epidemic. So what is an epidemic, and what are the threshold provisions for a particular disease to be declared as an epidemic? These are not defined as per this act. That is a drawback. Finally, no command hierarchy resulting in poor coordination between states. So we have seen in news that certain states like say Kerala are doing very good compared to certain other states where the health system scenario is back. Okay, so this happens because there is no proper coordination there is no proper command hierarchy that is required. Okay, so for any system, a hierarchy, proper chain of command will bring more coordination to the system rather than regional disparities. So to avoid such disparities, it's important to have a proper command structure. So these some recent implementations of this act. This is nothing new. I have already told you that this has been already invoked about 3-4 times in the 21st century. Recent one being the Covid pandemic, and then in 2018, Khed Karmasya village in Gujarat. Okay, here to fight the cholera that had affected this said village, district collector had to invoke the said act, some provisions of the said act. Okay, again in 2015 in Chandigarh to fight malaria and dengue outbreak that had happened over that time, and 2009 Pune swine flu. Okay, swine flu was declared as a notifiable disease back in 2009 in Pune, and this said act has been used at that time as well. So what is a notifiable disease? This is an extra relevant point, so I have added here. What is a notifiable disease? Notifiable disease is any disease that is required by law to be reported to government authorities. Okay, it may come in and match the following cases and all different kinds of diseases: epidemic, pandemic, endemic, notifiable disease, and all things, and you will be asked to match. So just a point of interest, so I have added that as well. Okay, so what are the ways forward? Ways forward are very simple to study. Why? Because if you know the criticism, you know the way forward. This is basically opposite of criticism. So first one, legislative backing. We need a proper legislative backing to handle dangerous situation scenarios. Not just epidemic diseases, but any other scenario, we need a proper legislative backing. Second one, command hierarchy or administrative superstructure for proper coordination and control. We need to have a standard operating procedure. We need to have a proper framework, chain of command, administrative hierarchy to control and coordinate any contingent scenarios as and when it occurs. Okay, not it shouldn't be any more late. It is already late, and at least should be implemented right now. Okay, clarity in roles and jurisdiction of different actors in the act. So this is again, I have already told you that this is a multi-sectoral act. This is a transdisciplinary act, and hence cannot be a one-man show. So this has to be all the actors need to be considered. Who are the actors? How are their actions and methods important, and all this has to be considered, and jurisdictions have to be clearly delineated for proper implementation of the act. Then authorities have to have a pre-planned standard operating procedure to meet contingencies rather than dealing in a case by case method. We need a national plan, we need a proper framework, strategy, a standard operating procedure, a method of modus of operandi. Okay, we need all these to be in place so that we do not have to do anything in haste, or we can avoid any unforeseen situations. We can avoid higher rates of higher rates of bad happenings. Okay, so all these are like required, and then we need to have more insight into how non-governmental actors can be effectively utilized. So the government system does all the coordination work, they act at the top, but we have many people at the ground level, self-help groups, volunteer organizations, right, and all many NGOs, and all these, they come at the ground level, they operate at ground zero, and we need to know what they can do at the ground level, and we need proper insights into that so that we can tag them in combating the epidemics. Okay, so these are the all you need to know about the Epidemic Diseases Act, and let's see if you can answer the question. Okay, if you want to answer this your own, please pause this video here and do it yourself. Okay, so first statement. Okay, question: which of the following is or are true regarding Epidemic Diseases Act? First statement: the act was passed in 1956 to control the widespread epidemic of bubonic plague. This statement is wrong. Why? Because the act was passed in 1897, not in 1956. Okay, so the second part of the statement is correct. It was implemented to fight the epidemic of bubonic plague. Second statement: Bal Gangadhar Tilak was sentenced to rigorous imprisonment of 18 months for admonishing government's handling of bubonic. This is correct. Okay, so another thing regarding UPSC questions is that some of the options give away the answer or the validity of other options. Okay, for example, which means if statement 1 is correct, statement 2 cannot be correct, because if the act was passed in 1956, then Bal Gangadhar Tilak cannot have been sentenced, because Mr. Tilak was had died before 1956. We all know that. So remember these kinds of relations between these points. Usually UPSC options that have that kind of interdependence, which can be exploited to find out the correct answer. Okay, so statement 2 is correct, and third one: due to lack of legislative backing, the act is very rarely used. This is a wrong statement. I have already mentioned you lots of cases where the act has been implemented even in the 21st century itself. So this is very commonly used, that nothing rare. This is also wrong, so the correct answer is option B, 2 only. Okay, so I hope if you did get the answer correct, good. Otherwise, just listen to the class again, go through the slides, and you will know the answer. Okay, second topic for the day: herd immunity. Herd immunity, another relevant topic regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. This is regarding the boosting of a immunity of a population as such. Okay, we will look into that in this section. So before going to what herd immunity is, we are going to look into another medical term. Okay, it's called R0. It's represented as R0 and pronounced as R0. So what exactly is R0? R0 is the basic reproductive number. Tells the average number of people who will contract a contagious disease from one contagious person. So look at here, this figure here, we have patient 0. From this patient 0, 2 people are getting the disease, right? So the R0 for this disease is 2. So this is a case study of Ebola, and Ebola has an R0 of 2. And here is another case study where we are looking at SARS, the severe acute respiratory syndrome, that has been around in early 2000s. Okay, and here R0 is 4. Why? Because from the patient 0, 4 people are getting infected by the said disease. Okay, so now you know what R0 is. Okay, and let's look at some cases regarding R0. So if R0 is less than 1, what will happen? If R0 is less than 1, not even one person gets contracted by the disease. This means the chances of the disease being contained and eventually dying out by itself is very very much high. Okay, so disease will decline and eventually will die out. R naught is 1, what happens? So if R naught is 1, what happens? At least one or exactly one person will get contracted, which means the disease, this is an arithmetic progression, disease will be spread into the community, but it is very stable spread, it is not an explosion or a geometric growth. So hence the disease will be stable, but there won't be a pandemic or an outbreak. But if R naught is greater than 1, there may be an outbreak or a pandemic, epidemic. Why? Because if R naught is greater than 1, from one person at least greater than 1 people, so say 2 or 3 persons will get contracted by the disease, and this grows into a tree like structure, right? So this is an exponential growth, and hence this will cause a pandemic or an outbreak. For example, corona, ebola, SARS and all those things. Okay, so but remember this point here regarding R naught. R naught can only be used in a sample population only if people of that population are not previously immune from the disease or have not been vaccinated. So that is a scenario where the disease may have already been, the persons in that population may have already contacted the disease and they have fought it off. Then those people cannot be used as sample. Similarly, if they are vaccinated against the disease, then also the population cannot be used as to find out R naught. Okay, R naught can only be used in a sample where there is no previous immunity to the said disease. Alright, so regarding R naught of COVID-19, the median is said to be 5.7. Okay, this is a very ambiguous number. It has been said by emergency infectious diseases, emerging infectious diseases report, but this is not accurate number. All right, because earlier it was thought to be 2 to 3, now it's 5.7. Maybe it may even be higher. Okay, so just remember that COVID-19 has a R naught greater than 1. That's all you need to remember. Okay, it's greater than 1, maybe 5, maybe 6, I don't know, but it's greater than 1. So it has an exponential growth, it is an epidemic, it is an outbreak. Alright, so why is this in news? This has been in news because herd immunity was advocated by UK's chief scientific advisor to deal with COVID-19. So in order to understand what or how it is implemented, you need to know what herd immunity is. Herd immunity means when a sufficient percentage of population is vaccinated or are immune from the disease, it slows down the spread of the disease. So in a population, if there are 100 persons, if 60 of them are immune to a said disease, then the growth rate or the chances of the disease spreading into the entire population is very less. Okay, compared to a population where there is only 30% who are immune. Okay, so the more number of people or the more percentage of people who are immune, the better the chances of the population slowing down the spread of the disease. This is called herd immunity. It's also called community immunity or herd protection. Okay, the name itself tells you what it is. It's literal meaning as well. Okay, this has been actually recognized as a naturally occurring barrier in 1930s. There was a measles outbreak in 1930s, and this herd immunity has been in operation there as well. What happened was the measles got into a pandemic, and some people actually this fought it off, and the population started to get immune to the measles outbreak, and eventually started acting as a barrier and contain the disease. Okay, so this was a scenario back in the 1930s where herd immunity was successfully naturally occurred. Okay, so here is a diagrammatic representation of what the whole thing is that I have said. Look at the orange people who are infected, green is vaccinated, and gray is healthy but not vaccinated. Okay, so here is scenario when herd immunity is in action, is in operation. Okay, so from patient 0, from an infected person, it goes into only less number of people compared to others. The immunized people does not contract does not contract the disease. Okay, so the herd immunity is in place. So from here it goes only to 1%. If these people were not immunized, then what will have happened? All the underlying these people will have contracted the disease, right? So only since herd immunity is operational, these people will act as a buffer and protect these set of population from direct contact with the disease. Okay, and here is a scenario where there is no herd immunity. Here you can see less number of people who are immunized, which means more number of people are getting exposed to the infection. See this healthy person here, this person will also get contracted with the disease because he is in direct contact with an infected person, because herd immunity is not present in the system, in the population. Okay, very important point is the key people who act as the links are also important. So if this person was here, then this person here will not get infected, right? So it is important to identify the crucial links in order to implement herd immunity. Who are the crucial links in a society? Who are the links in that network that can actually stop or act as a barrier between the infected and the non-infected people? Okay, so what are the characteristics of herd immunity? First one, it applies only to contagious single host species diseases. It has to be a contagious disease. It has to be a single host disease. Okay, it does not affect or does not apply to all infectious diseases. There are many infectious diseases, but it applies only to contagious single host diseases. Keep that in mind. Very, very important. 2. It can be acquired by vaccination or developed through previous infection. So people can be immunized using vaccinations, or people can develop their own immunity by fighting off the disease. Some people have the immunity power to fight off a particular disease, and on doing so, people will their body will generate antibodies, which prevents further contracting of the disease. So by these two methods, herd immunity can be implemented. Okay, so indirect immunity can be cultivated by these two processes. Third, sufficient proportion of the group is immune to the disease. So it can only be herd immunity can only be achieved if there is a sufficient percentage of the population who are immunized. Okay, otherwise it's not ever applicable. In the earlier picture I showed you, here see, look here, the herd immunity is implemented because 80% of the population is immunized. Here only 60% is immunized, so herd immunity is not applicable. This is I'm not 60 and 80 are just example numbers, not the actual numbers. Okay, so we need a sufficient percentage of population to be immunized. 4, if herd immunity is in action, then reduction of new incidence of the disease is greater than the proportion of individuals immunized. So obviously this is so because the already immunized people will act as a buffer and protect others. So the more the people are immunized, the even higher is the rate of the disease getting slower, disease getting contained. All right, and once on a community where herd immunity is established, the spread of disease is contained and eventually dies out. All right. So what are the hurdles? If this was the case, then why couldn't we use herd immunity as a method to contain the disease? One, how effective is the vaccine? Take COVID for example. We do not have a vaccine yet. A couple of days back, Russia came out with a vaccine called Sputnik 5 against Covid'19, which is said to be effective. We don't know that anyway. But if Mr. Putin is right, it is very effective vaccine. So depends on the efficiency of the said vaccine to deal with the outbreak. Okay. Second one, which populations form the critical links in the transmission? I have shown this to you, explained this to you with an example in the previous slides, right? So we need to identify who is the person who is the crucial link in a society, in a community, and we need to separate that link, or we need to immunize that link so that it can act as a buffer between the infected and the non-infected people. Okay, depends highly on the herd immunity threshold. So what is herd immunity threshold? Number of immune individuals above which a disease may no longer circulate. This is called herd immunity threshold. For example, take the case of coronavirus. Earlier it was taught that R0 of corona is 2 to 3. So assuming that if R0 is 2 to 3, then for a population to achieve herd immunity, at least 60% of the population should have become immune. Okay, so otherwise herd immunity cannot be implemented. So this is the threshold. So this threshold varies based on R0, and hence it is for this on a case by case basis. The number of the percentage of people who needs to be immunized varies. Okay, but this is the hurdle. Why? Because imagine a country like India with 1.3 billion people, and if we need to implement herd immunity, we have to identify all the crucial links, and at least 60% of 1.3 billion. Okay, that is like what, 60 crores or 70 crores, something like that. Okay, that much people have to be immunized to implement herd immunity. So this is a very difficult task. Okay, next one, natural herd immunity is achieved via infection and not vaccination. I have told you the two ways by which herd immunity is achieved. One is by vaccination, another by naturally acquiring the antibodies by fighting off the disease. But this may not always work. Sometimes the disease can attack you, and instead of the body throwing the disease off, it can actually cause you ill and cause death, right? And this will defeat the purpose. So herd immunity might come with a huge load of casualties and fatalities. This is not something that is entertained. All right. And herd immunity may not last forever. Again, some antibodies doesn't last forever. For example, say chickenpox. People say that once chickenpox is contracted, it will contract again only after a particular period of time, right? There is a time gap between two infections, and this similarly herd immunity too have a time frame. So it may not last forever. Sometimes it will, the herd immunity that is already acquired may vanish in 5 years or 10 years, and if that the moment the herd immunity is gone, again the chances of disease affecting are high. So we have to find out, we have to do more research into herd immunity of particular diseases as such. Okay, then anti-vaccination attitudes hidden among population. So these people are called free riders, which means there are people who in the society who thinks that, well, since everybody in my surroundings are vaccinated, I am not going to get the disease. This attitude can cause havoc. Why? Because this one person can destroy everything, because he may be the crucial link in the uh, between the infected and non-infected people. So this attitude of people has to be changed. Proper awareness has to be created, and only then can this be implement herd immunity be properly implemented. All right. So what are the issues? One, too many unknowns causes very high risk. COVID-19, when it came first, people did not know what to do. No vaccines, no medicines. It was a panic situation, and hence there are too many unknowns, and herd immunity cannot be implemented in a society against a disease which is very much unknown to us, because of its progression. We do not know how it progresses. We do not know anything about it. So herd immunity is not the first choice of dealing with the disease. Second one, R naught has to be very clear. Then only then we can say how much percentage of population has to acquire immunity for implementing herd immunity. So R naught needs to be very clear. Third, likely that infected person may not develop immunity. See, there are scenarios where people can actually throw off the disease by and naturally acquire immunity. There are scenarios where people fail to do that and eventually may die, and this fails the purposes uh, of our target of acquiring the herd immunity. Okay, herd immunity may take long time to build up in a population. This is true. Consider again India scenario. Assume 60% needs to be uh, immunized, which means it takes a very long time for the community to get immunity, right? So this may take a long time, and by this time there could be severe fatalities, lots of fatalities, especially vulnerable population like young children, very old senior citizens, pregnant women. These people can are high risk people, and they might, be much more vulnerable and end up dead or having to pay for the disease by the time herd immunity is established. Finally, as more and more people get infected, we need a better medical system, right? So if a person is getting infected, that person needs to be treated. He cannot be left as such, expecting his body to throw away the disease by itself. So we need a proper medical system. We need proper ventilators, hospital beds, medicines, infrastructure, all those. Regarding corona, we have seen that at many hospitals, people even had to lie in the ground. There is a lack of ventilators, lack of beds. So all this creates havoc, and this impedes or inhibits uh, the emergence of a herd immunity. So we need a proper medical system at place. Okay, so this is basically it regarding herd immunity. You can work out this question if you want. I am not going to go into the statements one by one because this is already discussed one. Basically copy pasted from slide 1, R0, R1, less than 1, equal to 1 and greater than 1. All these statements are correct. Okay, the answer is B, all statements are true. Basically copy pasted from second slide. You can go back and look into that. Final topic, One health. Environmental health, human health, animal health. You just keep this picture in mind, and that's pretty much it. Okay, this is a holistic picture of what One health is. You can use this diagram for your exam. Okay, so why is it this in news? High focus on One health approach owing to COVID-19 pandemic. This has been in news very recently regarding the corona, and this recognizes the health of human beings being related to animals and shared environment. So world has started understanding that all the diseases are not born in humans and transmitted among humans. Most of the diseases in recent days are contracted by the humans from zoonotic sources, animals, environment, surroundings. Okay, so we need to consider the whole system and look into the whole system medically and in a health perspective to provide better health scenarios. Okay, so studies have shown that most of the contagious diseases affecting humans are zoonotic, which means it occurs in animals first, like Nipah, that has been very prevalent in Kerala some years ago. Nipah is started from bats and all. You may remember this film, right? What's it called? Contagion. Okay, that in that film you may remember the disease started from bat, then to pigs, and then to humans, right? So that's the way most of the recent diseases are zoonotic. Starts in animals or nature, and then humans get contracted, and the chain goes on. Okay, so you keep that in mind as the reason why this One health is important. So this is nothing new. One health term has been used in 2003, first used in 2003, related to the SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome disease. Okay, it has also been in news during the H5N1 avian influenza. Okay, and also among the Manhattan principles. So what are Manhattan principles? I will tell you that in the next slide. All right, so collaborative multidisciplinary approach implemented at multiple levels to achieve optimal health outcomes, recognizing interconnections between people, animals, plants, and shared environment as defined by One Health Initiative Task Force. So this is it. So multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary approach, considering the whole system. Remember that figure in the first slide? That's it. Humans, animals, and nature together form a single health system, a single health scenario, which has to be researched and looked into. Okay, no, nothing can be looked into in isolation because everything is dependent. Okay, and it involves policies, legislations, researchers, better public health outcomes. Okay, why? Because this is a multi-sectoral approach. We need coordination between different departments, different levels of power, and different multi-sectoral. This has to be a multi-sectoral approach. Okay, then common health, One health issues include what? Zoonotic diseases, already explained. Antimicrobial resistance, very relevant topic. AMR. Okay, and food safety and food security, vector-borne diseases, environmental contamination, all these things. Okay, and hence it is very relevant. Then chronic disease, mental health, injury, occupational health, non-communicable disease can benefit from multi-sectoral collaboration of One health. So researchers have said that other diseases, non-communicable diseases, etc., can reap the benefits from the researches that are ongoing in the One Health approach. Okay, so this is a very holistic, very relevant, very useful approach, a visionary approach for the future medical scenario. Okay, so what are the Manhattan principles? Manhattan Principles, you don't need to know what the principles are. There are 12 recommendations as such, but just understand this in a prelims point of view. It's a result of the 2004 Wildlife Conservation Society One World One Health meeting. Okay, where the holistic approach to deal with epidemic and epizootic diseases has been discussed. Okay, and that's all you need to know. It's a result of the 2004 wildlife conference, okay, on One World One Health. And there are 12 recommendations, all regarding the interdependence of animals, man and nature. Okay, that's it. What are the significance? So what significance is that it's a very globally accepted model for epidemiological research, diagnosis, and control of zoonotic diseases. So people have around the world have acknowledged that most recent diseases are not just human to human; it's spread from animals. Its origin is in the animals. So it's necessary to study the dependence of humans and animals, and hence this is very significant. WHO's One Health research into antimicrobial resistance, AMR, antimicrobial resistance towards a variety of microbes. This is a field of study by WHO, and it has very promising researches, and it uses One Health method to conduct these studies and researches. Okay, sustainable disease control system along with advanced research and development needs of the hour. Obviously, we need a sustainable disease control system. We need a sustainable framework in dealing with all these. We need more research, more R&D, right? So it is the need of the hour. So One Health approach is one promising method of operation. And here is a case study. Look at this. Cancer forest disease of 1950s. This was actually uh, something that happened in 1950, and here there's a the word One Health has not been used at these times, but you can see here how it is actually an example of One Health. Okay, Rockefeller Foundation, what they did the financial, technical, and laboratory support. Virus Research Center Pune, they combed the Western Ghats autopsying the monkeys. So disease was zoonotic, obviously. So the monkeys have been surveyed throughout the Western Ghats. So this Virus Research Center is the National Institute of Virology. Okay, later named as National Institute of Virology, set up in Pune. Remember that prelims point of view. Okay. Then WHO and Bombay National History Museum supported Salim Ali to observe transcontinental flights of migratory birds carrying disease pathogens. So Salim Ali is a very famous ornithologist, right? So he has been supported by these organizations to conduct studies on and conduct observe the transcontinental migrations of these migratory birds who have contracted pathogens. So this is a holistic approach and excellent case study or example for One Health approach. What are the relevance? Already explained. Recently, multiple factors has contributed to spread of many zoonotic diseases. All those I have said, Nipah, and various other diseases, cancer diseases, all that contributed from animal origin. Okay, climate change and its repercussions. So climate change has caused its own climate related and weather related fluctuation. Similarly, it has also caused a lot of repercussions in other areas like health, majorly in health. Okay, and these repercussions have to be considered seriously, and hence environment has to be studied in a medical point of view, in a health point of view. Okay, then change in land use pattern. We have increasingly use pesticides and herbicides and fertilizers and all those chemical fertilizers and all those things into the land to increase the intensity of cultivation. We have brought more land into cultivation, and all these have caused various mutations. Pesticide resistant pathogens have started evolving, and all those things are coming. So the scenario is changing. Okay, so we have to adopt a holistic approach in order to combat or in order to make sure that there is a good health system set up. Human habitat expansion and encroachment into the wild. So people living close to forests and all, they tend to come in contact with animals more often, and animals and hence are more prone to zoonotic diseases. Okay, so that's the next point as well. So human habitat expansion and encroaching into the wild and man-animal contact has to be very clearly monitored, observed, and studied for implementing the One Health approach. And globalized trade and travel. This world is a very international scenario. We cannot confine everything into a single country. We know how COVID started, right? It started in the Wuhan province in China, and within months, a couple of months, it has been around the world, right? Killing lots of people, and uh, millions of people are being contacted by the disease. Started in a one very small province in a South Asian country. Okay, so Southeast Asian country. So you can imagine the relevance of One Health approach in today's world. Okay, so what are the changes required? Changes required is one, comprehensive integrated mission. We need a comprehensive framework. We need a comprehensive method of operation covering all the actors, covering all the organizations in order to implement this, because this is a multi-sectoral approach, this is a transdisciplinary approach. So we need a comprehensive integrated mission. Then sharing epidemiological and laboratory information. Again, consider COVID for example. If China had shared everything they had in COVID when it started back in the first week of December itself, then today may have been a different scenario. People would have taken better caution, better research would have gone into it already. But and hence sharing of epidemiological data and laboratory information is very very important for containing outbreaks. Third, infrastructure and capacity building. So obviously this is a very common point. You need to have proper capacity and infrastructure ready to handle any health emergency and to conduct any research, advanced research into a health field. Then regulatory approvals from multiple authorities. This is a impediment as well as a boon. Why? Because we need multiple. This is a multi-sectoral approach, so we need approvals from multiple authorities like ICMR and Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Forest, External Affairs, and all those state departments and all those things. So this is a holistic approach. Every actor has to come together to implement this. Higher funding. This is a very common sense kind of point. For any research, for any thing in the R&D department, we need proper funding. We need adequate funding to implement it. Job creation and updated education in areas like veterinary science. So veterinary science has become very very relevant today. Not just human doctors, MBBS doctors, but we need people who treat animals. We need to create more job in these sectors, these sectors which are not that much attractive today, but is of immense relevance to the future, also present. Okay, so these areas needs to be looked into. More research jobs has to be produced there. More funding has to be put into those fields, and all these changes are required to implement One Health. So here is a question to work out: which of the following is or are true regarding One Health? First point, One Health initiative is an outcome of Manhattan Principles of 2004. This is correct? No, right? This is wrong. This is not an initiative of, or this is not introduced in Manhattan Principles in 2004. This has been around before, even in 2003. But Manhattan Principles, yes, have mentioned this. That's all. Okay, so our first statement is wrong. Second statement, it is a collaborative multidisciplinary approach implemented at multiple levels to achieve optimal health outcomes, recognizing interconnections between people, animals, plants, and shared environment as defined by One Health initiative. This is a correct statement. This is basically the definition of One Health approach. I think I had copy pasted this from the definition itself. This is correct statement. So only statement 2 is correct. Okay, so that's it for today. We have looked into 3 topics in depth. You don't have to look in anywhere for and you don't have to study anything else regarding these 3 topics. This is good for your prelims, mains, as well as essay writing. So I hope you understood everything that I have told you today. So please feel free to send your feedbacks, your comments, your queries, everything. Okay, so please do look into this my Unacademy channel. You can also contact me via my WhatsApp. Okay, and get a subscription using my code MSRW1. Okay, here is my code, here is my phone number. You can use my code to get an additional 10% discount in the subscription. Alright, and please do subscribe to this YouTube channel as well. Please hit the subscribe button and hit the bell button so that you will get notified when I post new videos. I'm going to be there with you with lots of new videos, quizzes, and all those things. So please do watch, please do follow me, please do follow my channel, and do use my code to subscribe to Unacademy. Alright, so that's pretty much it for today. So until next time, goodbye. Right.